I just wanted to answer the question, is James Schramko Dave approved? Now, maybe I'll tell you a little bit of a story how I came across James's stuff. Now, for me, I hadn't seen much of James. I think if you go sort of 2 years back now, or even a year and a half ago, I hadn't even heard who James Schramko was. But now it feels like he's popping up everywhere. I think the first thing that I came across of James's was a presentation that he'd put on at Jeff Johnson's workshop. Now, Jeff Johnson was one of the first guys I started watching when I was really getting heavily into search engine optimization, SEO, and James had put a presentation on at one of his more recent events, one of his newer events, and his presentation was really good. He just sort of nailed it, and I got that feeling as he was talking that he was actually applying this stuff in this business. Because you know, when you come across some people and they can talk the talk, but when you look at what they're actually doing, they're not actually doing it. And I love people who teach what it is that they're doing, and you can see it in their business. And I saw that with James. So I went ahead and got in touch with him and said, hey, would you be interested in doing an interview for my website? I have a website, Podcast Interviews. And in fact, if you go to podcastinterviews.com, you can still find the original interview that I had with James Schramko. Now, when I touched base with him, he said, yeah, I'd love to do that. He'd actually already heard of me, and he said, look, I've come across your stuff before. In fact, one of my first successes online was this buy with bonus method, and that's something that he'd modeled off what I was doing. One of my early websites was a Site Build It website, and on that website I had a page where I said, look, if you want to go ahead and purchase yourself a copy of Site Build It, do it through my affiliate link, and I'll give you these additional bonuses as well. Now, that was a hugely successful model for me, and James took that one idea, tried it in another niche, and then just rolled it out in a really big way. So it was good. He'd actually already come across my stuff when I was the one that approached him for an interview. So we had a little bit of a talk about that, and it was great to hear what it is that he was applying and getting some good results. From there, I just sort of kept an eye out when James was coming down to Melbourne. He was speaking at a Brett McFall event. I think it was a World Internet Summit or something like that. And I briefly chatted with James there, and we just kind of kept in touch, just sort of crossing paths here and there. And then I went through my phase of clearing out a lot of old websites. If you've been following any of my stuff for a while now, you know I have purchased quite a lot of domain names and built them up in my time. Well, we were going through a bit of a culling period, and we were selling some on Flipper. And James was quite interested in this because he's got a huge network of sites as well, and I was getting some really great results. I mean, we were selling some websites for $2,000 and $1,500, and these were just little websites that we'd built up over the years. So we started clearing that out, and he got interested, and I think it was just coming up to his workshop. He had his Fast Web Formula 2 at the time, and he asked me whether or not I'd like to come to speak at the event. To talk about buying, building and selling websites and what we'd be doing there. Now, this was a great opportunity for me, and I really appreciate James for giving me that opportunity. Got in front of his audience and just presented what it was that we were doing. Got some great feedback from that presentation. If you're interested in seeing that presentation, just go ahead and email our customer support, and we can get that video for you. Now, on the back of that, that's where we launched our BBS formula. That was the event that launched that. Now, since then, we've sort of been keeping in contact with James sort of here and there and crossing paths and just sort of swapping ideas. And most recently, he had his Fast Web Formula 3 event, and I actually just got back from that. Now, it was a great event, and I love to see the type of people that attend different events, because it really gives you some fantastic insight into the person behind running the event. And I think James has built a magnificent community, one of the best out there, and it really speaks volumes for his character. They hold integrity really highly, and I think just about everyone, they're just good quality people. I think James has that, and it's flown through to his community as well. He's just someone that you can trust. Not only that, he's got the skills. I've seen parts of his business and seeing what he's doing, and he does what it is that he says he does. He's someone who actually practices what it is that he preaches as well, and he avoids all of this fluff and, you know, some people try and hype stuff up. He's very real, and I think one of the biggest things that makes James stand out from the crowd is his his business skill, coming from his Mercedes-Benz background, he's just got the business chops. I mean, he knows how to build a business and talks more strategically as opposed to just tactically. Anyway, that's my story with James Schramko, and yes, I can answer the question, James Schramko is Dave approved.